Welcome to the show, everybody. Today we're diving headfirst into a rivalry that's more heated than a biryani competition between arch-nemeses, the India-Pakistan conflict. It's a story full of twists, turns, and enough explosions to make Michael Bay jealous. Since these two nations were born from the partition of British India in 1947, they've been locked in a cycle of conflict that's left its mark on the world. We're talking 4 major wars and countless skirmishes. So, buckle up as we unpack each clash, exploring the history, the drama, and the lasting impact on these South Asian powerhouses. Welcome to our deep dive into the India-Pakistan Wars. Since their formation in 1947, these two nations have clashed multiple times. Let's break down each conflict, war by war. All right, folks, let's rewind back to 1947. Imagine the chaos. British India, after centuries under colonial rule, is finally getting its independence. But here's the catch. It's being split into 2 countries, Hindu-majority India and Muslim-majority Pakistan. Now, you'd think a simple partition, right? Wrong. Things got messier than a curry buffet after a college party, especially in the region of Kashmir. See, Kashmir, this beautiful land nestled in the Himalayas, was ruled by a Hindu Maharaja but had a Muslim-majority population. Talk about a recipe for tension. Both India and Pakistan laid claim to this prized region, and things escalated quicker than you can say butter chicken. Pakistan backed tribal militias who crossed the border into Kashmir, hoping to wrestle control from the Maharaja. In response, the Maharaja, fearing for his kingdom, decided to sign a deal with India, joining the newly formed nation in exchange for military support. And bam! Just like that, India and Pakistan were at war for the first time. Now, this wasn't just some small-scale border skirmish. We're talking full-blown military operations with tanks rolling, planes soaring, and soldiers clashing in some of the most treacherous terrain on the planet. Both sides fought bitterly, each determined to claim Kashmir for themselves. The war raged for over a year, leaving a trail of destruction and displacement in its wake. Finally, in 1949, thanks to some intense diplomatic pressure and the United Nations stepping in, a ceasefire was declared. But here's the kicker. The ceasefire didn't solve the Kashmir problem. Nope, it just froze it in time. The agreement divided Kashmir between India and Pakistan, with a line drawn through the region called the Line of Control. And guess what? This line of control became the most heavily militarized border in the world. Years of mistrust, accusations of cross-border infiltration and military build-ups, all because of this unresolved issue. The first India-Pakistan war may be over, but its shadow continues to loom large over the region. Fast forward to 1965. Things seemed relatively calm, at least for India and Pakistan. But beneath the surface, tensions were simmering like a pot of chai on high heat. Both countries had spent the years since the first war building up their militaries, each convinced the other was just itching for a rematch. Pakistan, feeling confident in its military strength, decided to launch a covert operation codenamed Operation Gibraltar. The idea was to sneak into Indian-administered Kashmir and stir up a local rebellion against Indian rule. They thought it would be a cakewalk, a quick and decisive victory. Oh boy, were they wrong. India, caught off guard initially, quickly mobilized its forces. What started as a covert operation escalated into a full-blown war, with battles raging across the international border for the first time. Tanks clashed in the deserts of Rajasthan. Fighter jets dueled in the skies, and soldiers fought hand-to-hand in some of the most brutal combat the world had seen since World War II. The 1965 war was a bloody affair, with heavy casualties on both sides. It lasted only 17 days, but those 17 days were packed with more action than a Bollywood blockbuster. In the end, neither side could claim a decisive victory. The conflict ended in a stalemate, with both countries exhausted and eager for a way out. That's where the Soviet Union, always the peacemaker, wink wink, stepped in to mediate a ceasefire. The Tashkent Agreement, signed in 1966, saw both India and Pakistan agree to withdraw to pre-war positions and return prisoners of war. On the surface, it seemed like a return to the status quo. But the 1965 war had a profound impact on both nations. It solidified their mistrust of each other, fueled military spending, and further entrenched the Kashmir issue as the core dispute poisoning their relationship. Now hold on to your hats, folks, because 1971 was a roller coaster year. East Pakistan, separated from West Pakistan by 1,000 miles of India, was feeling more and more like the neglected stepchild. They had a different culture, spoke a different language, Bengali, and felt politically and economically marginalized by the West Pakistani elite. When a devastating cyclone hit East Pakistan, the response from the West Pakistani government was seen as slow and inadequate, fueling resentment and igniting calls for independence. And India, well, they saw an opportunity. They started supporting the Bengali independence movement, providing shelter and training to Bengali refugees who had fled the violence in East Pakistan. Pakistan, fearing the breakup of its nation, launched a preemptive airstrike on Indian airfields in the west, marking the official start of the 1971 war. This time, however, the conflict wasn't just about Kashmir, it was about the fate of East Pakistan and the birth of a new nation. India, with its superior military and the strategic advantage of fighting on two fronts, made significant gains. Meanwhile, the Bengali Mukti Bahini, fighting alongside Indian forces, proved to be a formidable force. The war lasted only 13 days, the shortest war in history that resulted in the creation of a new country. Pakistan faced defeat on both fronts, and on December 16, 1971, the Pakistani forces in East Pakistan surrendered. And just like that, Bangladesh was born. The 1971 war had far-reaching consequences. It led to the creation of Bangladesh, significantly altered the balance of power in South Asia, and left a deep scar on Pakistan's national psyche. It also cemented India's position as the dominant military power in the region. The 90s were a time of relative peace, at least compared to the previous decades. But as we know, things between India and Pakistan rarely stay calm for long. In 1999, the world watched in disbelief as the two nuclear-armed neighbors engaged in yet another dangerous military confrontation, this time in the icy heights of Kargil. Pakistan, led by General Pervez Musharraf, had hatched a daring plan to infiltrate Pakistani soldiers disguised as Kashmiri militants across the line of control. Their goal: capture strategic peaks in the Kargil district of Indian-administered Kashmir. The thinking was that by controlling these heights, Pakistan could choke off Indian supply lines to the Siachen Glacier and potentially force India to negotiate a favorable settlement on Kashmir. Initially caught off guard by the audacity of the Pakistani operation, India responded with Operation Vijay, a massive military and diplomatic effort to evict the intruders. What followed were weeks of intense fighting in the most treacherous of battlegrounds, the high Himalayas. Imagine this: soldiers battling for every inch of land, artillery shells raining down from the skies, and the constant threat of avalanches adding to the peril. It was a war fought at altitudes where just breathing is a challenge, let alone engaging in combat. India, with its superior air power and the determination of its soldiers, slowly but surely began pushing back the Pakistani forces. The international community, fearing a wider conflict between two nuclear-armed nations, put immense pressure on Pakistan to withdraw its troops. Finally, facing mounting casualties and international condemnation, Pakistan agreed to pull back its forces. The Kargil War, though shorter than the previous conflicts, had a lasting impact. It exposed the fragility of the peace process, highlighted the risks of nuclear brinkmanship, and underscored the need for a lasting solution to the Kashmir dispute. So there you have it, folks, a crash course in the India-Pakistan wars. These conflicts, marked by bloodshed, mistrust, and missed opportunities for peace, remind us of the human cost of unresolved disputes. They've shaped the geopolitical landscape of South Asia, left scars that run deep and continue to influence the relationship between these two nuclear-armed neighbors. Understanding these wars is crucial for anyone trying to make sense of the complexities of South Asia. It's a story of rivalry, of political maneuvering, and of the human desire for peace constantly clashing with the forces of nationalism and conflict. Thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Until next time, keep those brains engaged and those hearts open.